Alright, and here we are for round 2. We again lost the die roll, so I assume our opponent will be playing first. Alright, our opening hand has 3 Inquisition of Kozileks. I certainly like having a lot of discard on the draw. We don't really have anything to go with it just yet, nor do we have any white mana for our Lingering Souls or possibly Path to Exile, but our opponent did mulligan. Yeah, I think that you're supposed to keep this hand. So we'll give it a shot. Certainly we can end up in a game where we just don't get to play a lot of Magic, but I think the reward is there. Alright, it looks like probably Abzan Collected Company. Isolated Chapel was a pretty good draw there. I'm going to go ahead and shock ourselves, and we'll see what's going on here. Unfortunately, Inquisition cannot take... Oh, interesting. So maybe it's closer to a variant of Abzan, possibly just green-black, but you see that less and less commonly. Birds of Paradise is kind of an odd one, as I wouldn't play the first birds over the 4th Noble Hierarch, and you don't see many playing 4 Noble Hierarchs, so maybe Jund? I'm not really sure. I think we're going to take the Pulse here. If he wants to go ahead and Inquisition us twice next turn, that's fine. Our hand's pretty resilient against that type of thing. He'll probably just end up taking, our Inquisitions or Path to Exile or something that we're not super concerned about it. If he takes Lingering Souls, we get to cast it from the yard, so yeah, we're just going to take Pulse. Like I said, my best guess is he's probably going to take an Inquisition. He may take a Path to Exile, depending on what he just drew. I don't expect it'll be Lingering Souls. I also don't expect that he'll cast the second Inquisition right away. He took the Path to Exile, okay, so. Means he probably drew a creature. Okay, he is casting the second Inquisition as well. Okay. Puts him down to a Woodland Cemetery, which he's probably going to play this turn, and 1 unknown card in hand. So I feel pretty good about our position at this point. He did take our Inquisition with that one. Played the Woodland Cemetery. And yeah, I think it's okay to just cast the Inquisition here for peace of mind, if nothing else. I mean, even if it's just a land, it's fine. It's probably not getting any better. Anything less than 3 is just going to cast. Yeah, sure. So we get an Abrupt K out of the deal, which is reasonable. Certainly if we draw like a Tarmogoyf or something, we'll be happy about that. Switching into turn here. And I like just getting a Temple Garden here. Noble Hierarch's an interesting draw. I think we're still just going to lead with the Lingering Souls here. Kind of want to just get Lingering Souls plus Gavany Township online as fast as possible. So we'll go ahead and Souls here, and then Probably, I mean, assuming we don't draw anything, we'll probably just go ahead and play the Hierarch and the Gavany. Siege Rhino is a pretty good draw for him. I drew another land, which we're going to go ahead and play that. Play the Noble Hierarch, flashback the Lingering Souls, and go ahead and get in with just one of the spirits since it's the same amount of damage either way. And then next turn, this Gavany Township should in theory take over the game, even with him having a Rhino over there and us being at, you know, quite a bit lower life, but we're not in terrible shape right now. Get another Overgrown Tomb. Another Lingering Souls is an interesting draw. I think, so if we Gavany here, we get in for 8, 9. He's going to crack back for 4 if he has nothing. We go to 5, then we crack back for another. Definitely lethal that turn. If we just play the souls and flash it back and attack for 4, we could even hold 1 back, attack for 3. I think what we're gonna do here is go ahead and play Lingering Souls. And we're just going to flash it back now. Next turn that would put 8, 9 power. 8 witches in the air, so that's probably all we can really count on. Or sorry, 8, 16 in the air. 16 in the air. So I think here we're probably gonna just end with all 4 here. It's unlikely that we're dead next turn, and he would have to draw a pretty specific card, especially with us already taking his Maelstrom Pulse. Most of us only play 1. Yeah, he just conceded to that, so. Like Fulminator Mage quite a bit in the mirror. It's not usually very much for land scaring your opponent, but things like Gavany Township and the man lands, it's certainly good against. One of the advantages we have in this mirror is that we are playing Stirring Wildwoods, where a lot of people are playing Treetop Villages. Makes our mana slightly better, not really a big concern, but it does trump Stirring Wildwood, and it can also block Lingering Souls and things like that. Definitely bringing in the Zealous Persecution here. I don't really care for most of the discard spells. I would rather not have them, since it's gonna end up in being such a top deck war most of the time. So probably gonna board in the Path and the Slaughter Pact. Let's see if there's anything else we want. Could potentially bring in Knight of Soul's Betrayal. He did show us Birds of Paradise, which means he's probably running more X1s than we are. But it's just a gamble on who draws more of their Lingering Souls at that point. And we certainly don't want to side out Lingering Souls in this matchup. So I think that we'd rather just not have it. There's more of an argument to be made to have it on the draw, but even so, I think that I would rather just play this configuration and just rely on Zealous Persecutions to try to take care of their Lingering Souls and Maelstrom Pulse. It's possible that we could play a Curse of Death's Hold instead of the Knight of Soul's Betrayal, just so that we could bring it in these kind of matchups. But I think that there are enough matchups where the 1 mana is going to make a big enough difference that that's just not something we're interested in. And this hand is great, and our opponent is again on a mulligan on the play, so we are looking pretty good so far. So much of this matchup comes down to just raw cards that mulliganing is very exaggerated in this matchup. Him having just the 1 less card can often be the difference. Apparently he is not a fan of the boarding out the discard spells in this matchup, which is, one camp of thinking. They're certainly good on turns 1 through 3. They're just such a bad top deck that I don't want to put myself in that position, because they actually are the type of cards that do put you into a top decking war, and then your deck is just filled with cards that don't do anything once each person is hellbent. I would expect that he's either going to take Liliana or Abrupt Decay, depending on how his hand's working out here. More likely Liliana the Veil, unless he has something like Tarmogoyf and Lingering Souls or something to follow it up that will, make the Edict worse. Takes Tassiger. Okay. Also reasonable if he just doesn't have a clean answer for that. It's so hard to determine what your opponent's going to take in these kind of matchups, only because it's a very reactive matchup, so they're usually just going to take whatever they don't have the answers to. Him not having a 2-drop is something I'm reasonably happy about, even though we do have the Abrupt Decay. Almost always like getting Overgrown Tomb first, because the deck is just really hungry for black and green. I also fetched with the Marsh Flats, because this one can get green all the time, which is good. Drawing Tarmogoyf there is pretty solid, and this is definitely a matchup where I think that having just perfect mana is more important than your life total. So I'm going to go ahead and just correct for a shock land here. We're going to get a Temple Garden to make sure our white's turned on, and we will pay the 2 life and play our Tarmogoyf. Looks like Liliana the Veil, maybe Lingering Souls. What was that? Rain of Tears. That is not one that I have seen in this matchup before, or in this deck. It seems reasonably powerful. It makes me really happy that we played both of the fetches that he already knew about, so that he probably overvalued that a little bit. But even so, it definitely does set us back. Especially if you can follow that up by, playing a Siege Rhino or something to that effect, where we have to worry about slaughter pacting it even, because okay. Because if we slaughter pact and then he Rain of Tears us, then we just don't have the mana to pay for the pact, which is a big issue. Don't really want to fetch into turn here, because I kind of want to draw lands. Alright. Well, we're going to end up dealing ourselves a little bit of damage here. Probably get an Overgrown Tomb and then just a basic forest here. And play our second Tarmogoyf. Can really only get punished by a Maelstrom Pulse here. I think that if he would have had it, he may have decided to play that already. Although, you know, if his plan is land destruction, then getting us off mana first is not nothing. Scavenging Ooze, okay. So let's see, there's only one creature in the graveyard, so he could just Scavenging Ooze our only creature, bringing our Tarmogoyfs down to 2/3, and then be able to eat one with his Scavenging Ooze. It's probably just really bad actually that we fetched the plains there, because if we had Abrupt Decay mana, we would be in a much better position. As it is, I think we're just going to play our own Scavenging Ooze and pass the turn. I guess Rain of Tears does function pretty similarly to just a Fulminator Mage. It's nice that you can destroy basic lands with that as well, but I think that being able to actually just have a creature is probably worth more. Most of the lands you're going to try to destroy are basic or are non-basic. Like, it's very rare that you want to destroy a basic land. Currently, what we have land and sorcery in the graveyard. It's another Tarmogoyf. So, like, ordinarily we would be in a pretty good position to just, like, race. But he has so much more green mana than we do that, like, if we attack with both of the Tarmogoyfs, he blocks one and then gets to eat. He gets to eat the Tarmogoyf post-combat, which is bad for us, because then we're only netting 1 damage and then we have 1 less creature. So I think we're on the game plan of just play another Tarmogoyf. If he doesn't do anything super meaningful here, we can actually, even without drawing a land, just Slaughter Pact on our turn and just go for the win. I mean, there's just no way that he's going to be able to eat all the lands out of the graveyard. It's certainly not plan A, right? Because we don't know if he has like a removal spell. We just lose with that game plan. Him thought seizing us here is probably going to give us a bit of information. If he doesn't take the Slaughter Pact, then he probably has removal for it. See, this is it's a really tough decision. So if we Slaughter Pact here, then we can eat the Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, I think that's just the right play. I can't think of a card right now that he could have that would really blow us out, because we're gonna get creature and instant in the graveyard. So we'll have creature, instant, land, and sorcery in the graveyard. So the Tarmogoyfs will all be 5/6s. He's at 6 life, and he'll have no blockers. So, and then we can also pump the Scavenging Ooze. So I don't think that there's anything that can really punish us here. But if it does, we're definitely going to lose this game, because we're casting a pact we can't pay for. It would have to be something pretty corner case, because he would have to remove 2 creatures. And I can't think of anything that he would be able to do that with at instant speed right now. And see, this just illustrates my point of what I'm talking about. See, like, he drew a Thoughtseize there on a pretty critical turn, where if it would have been, like, a real action spell, he would have had a lot better chance. We were also pretty fortunate to draw, you know, so many 2-drops after him double Stone Raining us. Yeah, it looks like he's in the tank pretty hard. I assume that means that he's probably dead. I think he's trying to figure out if he can live if he eats like he could eat the sorcery out of the graveyard, which would make the Tarmogoyfs 3/4s on resolution here, because we're gonna have instant and creature and land. But yeah, so then he would still have to kill 2 creatures to stay alive. Yeah, I definitely played this game too timidly about my life total, especially when it was so high. Like, I was far too concerned about that. I definitely should have just gotten a Godless Shrine on that last fetch instead of just Plains. I mean, this game would have been over several turns ago. I could have just Abrupt Decayed the Ooze and called it good. Fortunately, I didn't get punished too hard for that, so... It's interesting to know that he just Thoughtseized us and probably doesn't have any outs to this play here. I would I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't just take the Slaughter Pact instead. Although, I mean, so like, let's say even if he takes the Slaughter Pact last turn instead of the Lingering Souls, yeah, so we win there. Even if he takes the Slaughter Pact next turn or last turn instead of the Lingering Souls, then we're probably still in a position where we start having to attack here, and he could bring the Tarmogoyfs down to. He could bring them down to 1/1s. He would take block 1, take 4. Maybe he blocks the Ooze, takes 3. Yeah, I don't think we would be able to attack if he had just taken the Slaughter Pact last turn. Well, we got that one. We are currently 2-0, and we will be back for round 3.